things. So,
okay, cool. I'll you just take it from the end of the review. Also remind everyone at the beginning and the end that we have Leslye Headland's interview at the end.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to plug your Comic-Con panels?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll plug those at the end, too.
Okay. So. Okay. Awesome.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Bored as Hell podcast. I'm Adam McDonald with Big Shiny Robot.
And I am Andy Wilson, a.k.a. Citizen Bot, also a Big Shiny Robot.
And we're here this week to talk to you about two movies, The Visit and the rom-com Sleeping with Other People. But just a quick reminder, at the end of the podcast, after we get done with everything, stick around because Andy got a chance to interview Leslye Headland, the director of Sleeping with Other People. And we'd love for you to check it out and hear what she has to say. I got to listen to her and see the movie at Sundance. So she's a charming woman. She's really witty. And we really think you'll enjoy hearing what she has to say about not just her movie, but politically incorrect movies in general. I guess we could throw out there.
This was a really fun interview too, and she's just absolutely wonderful. So you want to stick around and hear that.
What isn't fun, however, was The Visit.
Ooh,
burn. We can segue. So The Visit is the newest horror suspense film from M. Night Shyamalan, who, as we know, had a really promising career. A lot of people know him from Sixth Sense. I still say that Unbreakable is his best movie he's ever made.
Agreed.
Signs was pretty good. It had a weak ending, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. And it's to the point now that when he's making a movie, the studio normally doesn't even attach his name to it because they're afraid people won't go see it. Perfect example was After Earth, the Will Smith takes his kid to work movie. If I didn't even know until the moment the movie came out that actually he was involved because his name was nowhere to be seen. It wasn't on the poster except in very, very, very small print. It wasn't in the trailer, so they kind of run and hide, which makes one wonder why he's still making movies.
And he's made one of the worst movies of the last 10 years, too, the Avatar, The Last Airbender movie. Oh, it was terrible.
Oh, yeah, it was dog awful. Excuse me. Yeah. So there was some hope, though, because The Visit kind of plays into the suspense horror-type movies that he's kind of made a name for himself for. But, yeah. Well, to sum up, we have two teenagers, Becca and Tyler. Becca is played by Olivia DeJonge, and Tyler is Ed Oxenbould, who you might have known as Alexander from Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day.
Aw.
Yeah. They and their mom their mom moved away from home when she was 19 under kind of bad circumstances. So after being estranged for so many years, these kids don't know their grandparents. They've never met them. They've never talked to them. They know they exist, but that's about it. So one day, the grandparents reach out and kind of say, hey, we want to get to know you better. We know things kind of went bad, but can we kind of make amends? So mom is going on vacation with her brand new boyfriend and thinks, oh, hey, let's ship the kids off to grandparents' house. It'll be a way for them to bond, and I can go off and have nookie time with boyfriend and feel fine about it. So kids get shipped off. The daughter, Becca, she is a film lover. She's documenting the whole thing, and this is how the whole found footage thing comes into play. So she's with the camera the whole time, and her younger brother, Tyler, is a rapper and is precocious and kind of annoying and goes on and on about getting bitches. That's kind of his persona.
Wait, he's a rapper?
He wants to be a rapper. He has a 14-year-old white boy trying to be like NWA.
Okay, go on.
And that's not the worst part of the movie. So there's certain points where she gives him a camera, so they both got these cameras they're playing around with. Well, they get off the train and they meet Nana and Pop Pop. Nana's played by Deanna Dunnigan, who is absolutely fantastic. She's the best part of this movie. And Pop Pop is Peter McRobbie, who's pretty good as well. He kind of hangs out in the background more and more. They're really nice. They're warm. They're gentle. They like the kids. They're a little bit older and peculiar and haven't been around children for a while, so they're a little bit awkward in their attempts to be nice and do things. But things are going pretty well until the first night they're going to bed, and Pop Pop's like, oh, well, it's 9:30, we're going to bed because we old people. So, yeah, they go to bed, and all of a sudden they start hearing these weird noises, like just bleh, like strange things happening. So kids being kids, they wander outside and look downstairs. And Nana's walking around in a nightgown just like throwing up everywhere. And so it freaks them out. They go up back in their rooms and think maybe she was just sick. She seemed fine the next day. Well, the second night, they hear these weird like scuttling sounds. So they open the door, and Nana's running around naked, scratching at the walls. So they're kind of freaked out. So they go and the next day they talk to Pop Pop, and he's like, oh, no, Nana's fine. She has this condition called sundowning, which means whenever the sun goes down, she's kind of like acts kind of weird. It's a psychological ailment. It's kind of like sleepwalking. Just, after you go to bed, stay in your room. So Becca takes it at face value and goes with it. And he's kind of weirded out because Pop Pop's acting weird. He keeps on going to the shed and hiding things in there. And they start acting weirder and weirder and weirder. And things kind of come to a head when Nana gets violent later. And the kids realize that these people are probably going to kill them. So they have to get out of there and, wackiness ensues. It sounds cool. Like, trust me, that's a really, really cool premise. The problem is M. Night Shyamalan doesn't know what to do with this movie. Apparently, he filmed multiple versions of it. He filmed one that was a horror version. He filmed one that was a comedy, and then spliced the two together because there's parts that are supposed to be funny and parts that are supposed to be scary, and none of it works. The worst part is filming with found footage is, he doesn't know how to use it properly. Horror movies have certain tricks. When someone looks in the mirror in the bathroom, opens the cupboard up, and then closes it, we expect something to pop up behind him. That's like one of the oldest tropes in horror movies. That's the whole movie. Someone will be looking with a camera and pan over to the right, nothing there, and then go left. And then when they go right again, we know something's going to be there. And sure enough, it pops out and it's supposed to scare us. It doesn't. It's not scary at all. This being M. Night Shyamalan, we have to have a twist. There's always a twist. And it's a cool twist if we wouldn't have guessed it 5 minutes into the movie. It's telegraphed so strongly that there's no trail of breadcrumbs to go after. The whole loaf is lying in front of you. So if you look down, you're going to pick it up, and you'll just be annoyed by it. There's a message, because M. Night Shyamalan has to have a message, and it's actually a good message. It's about letting go of the past, stop, don't hate people, give up your anger. A very Jedi-type message. And that's really cool, too. Except for the fact that the last 2 minutes of the movie, the mom is hugging the kids because, of course, the kids get away because it has to have a happy ending. And literally tell. I don't really care if I spoil it.
No, just kidding.
She literally is hugging the children and says, "Give up your anger. Don't hold on to the past." Okay, so now we've gone from a horror movie to an after-school special, and a bad after-school special at that. It's just frustrating because it's such a good idea, and there's so much cool stuff that could have been done in the hands of a talented director that could have made this movie a great film and scary and suspenseful, but it's not. There's no atmosphere because he doesn't know how to use found footage. He telegraphs everything he's doing, and if it wasn't for Nana, what's the actress's name? Deanna Dunnigan, her role, because she goes from being this sweet, kindly grandmother to this crazy person in either a split second or kind of a slow burn leading up to it. If it wasn't for her, the movie would be a waste. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not the best or even mediocre. I'm at a 4.
And now we know, and knowing's half the battle. G.I.
Joe.
That sounds terrible. I'm sorry. Although I always hope with M. Night Shyamalan, because he's not untalented. He's not a completely talentless hack like someone like Uwe Boll or Michael Bay.
Yeah.
I know going in it's just going to be a schlock fest and it's going to be terrible. He's made good things. He's made thoughtful things, and I just don't know like where things went wrong and why he can't seem to put it together again. It would be like if Paul McCartney like suddenly forgot how to be able to write good songs or something, and you know, it just I don't know. That's just
I think with him, he rose so fast and became so popular and so almost revered at first for Sixth Sense and Unbreakable.
Yeah,
that he had the Justin Bieber syndrome. He got too full of himself and thought he could do anything. Because in Lady in the Lake, he literally becomes Christ.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's what led to his downfall, was that he was surrounded by yes men. No one was willing to say no to him, or if they did, he didn't care and kind of fell off the bridge that way. Because this movie actually, once the twist happens, about 60 minutes in, it really starts to get good. You know, it starts to get more suspenseful when things are kind of going to hell and you figure everything out. But it's not worth sitting through 2/3 of a movie for just one decent last act. So,
and then a horrible schlocky ending. It sounds like.
Oh god, yeah. It's I know some people liked it. Some people thought, oh well, he's making fun of the genre. He's making fun of himself. You can think that all you want, but no, he's just not talented.
That's really too bad. What, however, isn't too bad, and speaking of taking a genre and turning it on its head and making fun of itself, is Sleeping with Other People, which you saw earlier this year at Sundance, and then I got a chance to see just a little while ago. This movie is in very limited release right now, so be looking and seeing if it's available in a theater near you. It's got one of those kind of gradual releases where over the next 3-4 weeks, it's going to be expanding to different cities. So check it out. It might not be in theaters for very long, but when you do, or when it does come to a theater near you, you want to see this.
Yes, I am so excited this movie finally is coming out.
This is absolutely great. Sleeping with Other People stars Alison Brie, who you may remember from Community, as Lainey, and Jason Sudeikis, who you may remember from Saturday Night Live and some other terrible movies, as Jake. And Lainey and Jake met each other in college and actually awkwardly lost their virginity to one another. And,
on a roof.
Yeah, on a roof. And a number of years later, they meet one another at a Sexaholics Anonymous meeting where they're both there for different reasons. Jason Sudeikis does have a very real problem with monogamy. He sleeps with anything that moves. And Alison Brie has kind of the opposite problem where she has a long-term boyfriend, shoot, what's that called before a husband? Oh, okay. She has a long-term boyfriend, almost fiance, to whom she admits that she's been carrying on a long-term affair and can't stop sleeping with that guy, who is a gynecologist played by Adam Scott.
Oh, he's hilarious.
Yeah, and this is also a guy that she's been running after ever since college. So there's some really bad psychological problems that the two of them have. And what they end up doing is forming this really strange friendship. But knowing that they have these problems with intimacy, they decide they're going to nip it in the bud. The two of them are not going to fall for one another. And they're going to talk to one another about their sex lives and what's going on and what they're feeling like. But if the tension ever gets too strong, they've got a safe word, and they're just going to say, oh, mousetrap.
Mousetrap.
Mousetrap. And the word mousetrap comes up many, many, many times in this movie for things like, oh, I'm going to take you lingerie shopping with me.
Mousetrap.
Oh, mousetrap. Oh, major mousetrap. And they're just generally kind of, they're not horrible people, but they're kind of horrible people.
But you like them. You want to like them.
You really do end up liking them. But like, Jason Sudeikis has a business partner, and they show up to his kid's birthday party, and they're both on Molly. And it's like, who does that? That's terrible. Although that leads to my favorite scene in the movie, Mousetrap, of Alison Brie dancing suggestively to David Bowie's Modern Love, which, yes. Oh my gosh, that was like, I had fallen in love with this movie before then, but then I hear that initial I don't want to go out, I want to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's David Bowie's Modern Love. I love this movie so much. This movie knows exactly what it's doing, and it's really, really, really funny. When we first started talking about this movie together, Adam, we were talking about it in context of Trainwreck and
Yes.
how we really liked Trainwreck, but there were things that it was missing, and you kept saying, I wish that you had seen Sleeping with Other People so we could talk about how much better of a movie it was than Trainwreck.
Yeah, which wasn't talking crap on Trainwreck, because I think we both
No.
like that movie a lot. It's just this movie, Leslye Headland, who wrote and directed it, she's strong enough of a writer who's done this before to kind of not fall into the tropes that Trainwreck did.
Yeah. And this was just, it was really funny. It was really heartfelt. It kind of felt like a modern version of When Harry Met Sally. Like we're exploring, can these two people who do have some sort of attraction towards each other be just friends? And there's a lot of weird stuff that goes down between them, and they're very obviously in love with one another in one sense, but they just can't be together. And so there is that kind of tragic romance element that's like Wuthering Heights in 2015, but for all the different reasons, not class reasons or something like that. It's just these are two very screwed up people, and it's going to be hard for them to make it work with one another. But it was just amazing performances, really, really funny, wildly inappropriate, and yeah, really inappropriate. There were things in here that you really made me blush. That scene with the bottle.
You'll never look at a bottle of iced tea the same ever again.
Oh, no, I won't. Mousetrap.
Mousetrap. The dirty DJ.
Mousetrap.
Yeah, this it was actually kind of funny you mentioned When Harry Met Sally, because when Leslye Headland came out at Sundance to discuss the movie, she said this is basically When Harry Met Sally for a-holes. And you really can't sum this movie up any better. It's the great thing is Alison Brie and Jason Sudeikis have wonderful chemistry together. You can see these people who really do become friends because they act that naturally with each other, and it actually accomplished something for me I never thought would happen. I genuinely liked Jason Sudeikis after this movie, or in this movie. Everything he's been in, he has annoyed the hell out of me. Like, I love Horrible Bosses. Hated him in it. I wanted just to punch him because he's so smarmy and full of himself, and I know it's the characters he's playing, but I've just never been a fan. But this movie, she made him likable. Kind of the person you want to chill with after a game on Sunday and maybe drink a beer or something like that. He was really genuine and came through as an actual person and not a caricature of this horny frat boy who's going around and sleeping with people.
Yeah, and this should have been someone who we really should have hated, and I completely agree with you. Like, I think about We're the Millers, and I hated that movie.
Oh yeah,
and
horrible.
He was not good in it, and whenever he was on Saturday Night Live, it's like, okay, this guy's funny, but he's just kind of there. And I was always like, bring on more Andy Samberg and Bill Hader, and so I was never that impressed with him. And I was like, really? Jason Sudeikis? And it's like, no, this was beautiful and awesome. And which is funny because it's exactly the opposite for me with Alison Brie, who I love her so much. And like the character of Annie, like I just want to like take Annie and like be spirited away to a magical kingdom with her and be like, oh, let's go be crazy together. This is beautiful.
So yeah, they play off each other well. It's really funny. We're not kidding when we say this is a hard R comedy. And
oh yeah,
like I've always said, I love it when a movie that's trying to be a raunchy comedy fully follows through with that and isn't afraid to say dirty things or be what it wants to be. And it unabashedly does and says horrible things. So don't hate the kids, of course, because this is not for them. But it's Yeah, it's filthy. It's funny. The great thing too is that if you go back and watch it, actually go back and watch it again, which I need to as well, because after we saw it at Sundance, Leslye Headland came out, and one of the questions was, "Hey, I saw the way you filmed this shot. It was set up a lot like a Hitchcock film. I can't remember if it was Vertigo or North by Northwest, something like that." And she's like, "Did you mean to do that?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm so glad you pointed that out." She's like, "I'm a huge film nut. I love movies. I watch them all the time, over and over again. And I really wanted to showcase my love of film in here. So if you go back and watch it, you'll see scenes that are shot and set up like Hitchcock and Jaws and Spielberg from Close Encounters and other stuff. So this is one, if you're going into it for the first time, keep an eye out for that, because if you're a film buff, you'll definitely find these things. And if you're not, well, or if you've already seen it, want to go see it again, it's kind of cool for some Easter eggs. So I'm excited to go back and watch it again, because you saw it more recently than I did, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to screen it. But the only problem I have with this movie, and I'm not going to say anything because it's the end of the movie, is, you know, rom-coms, we know how they're going to play out, and I was really, really hoping the way they were kind of turning the corner on this was that it was going to go its own way and do something different. And it kind of did and kind of didn't. So I can't really take too many points away for following the genre the way it's always been. But it would have been kind of cool if she would have done things a little bit different than she did.
Yeah, I feel iffy about the ending, but I'm okay with it, because I
me
feel
too.
like I feel like if Leslye Headland was trying to say something, this was the story she wanted to tell. Like, this was her movie. She was in control of it, and she wanted that ending to say that thing. And so I'm okay with it. Even though, yeah, I would have liked to maybe have seen it happen another way. And we're being so vague. This is awful. It's hard to talk about this movie in a non-spoiler way, especially the ending. But it is just absolutely wonderful, and the performances, the way it's shot, she really does pay homage to a lot of her different influences, and it's just great.
Yeah, so I'm a solid 8.5 out of 10. I loved it. I can't wait to go see it again. I can't wait to buy it. It's one I just want to go and watch over and over and over.
Yeah, I'm at a 9 out of 10. This is one of my top 5 favorite movies of the year, absolutely, at this point. So, you know, we'll see. We've had a lot of other great movies, and, you know, maybe Star Wars can knock it out of the top 5. Maybe some other things can, but it's going to be tough. It's right up there with Mad Max and Ex Machina, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk about it more next week, but I think the one that's going to give a lot of movies a run for their money is Black Mass. That just looks fantastic.
We'll see. I don't know. I've been iffy about Johnny Depp lately. I think he's been more hit and miss, and that looks like it could be really good. But we'll see. I'm definitely interested in what you think about it. So one of the best things about sleeping with other people is it doesn't pull any punches, and it's not afraid to be completely politically incorrect and do really inappropriate.
No, it has no fear there whatsoever.
Absolutely not. And, you know, Adam and I, we got into a conversation with Brian Young and several other people earlier this week about political correctness, and there seems to be this ongoing conversation about, have we become too PC? You know, people, feminists, and the cultural sensitivity police are trying to take all of our fun things away. And Mel Brooks came out a few weeks ago and said, like, I don't know if I tried to make Blazing Saddles today, if I could ever get it made. And it's like, yeah, you know, I think political correctness is I don't know. I think it's something that people tried to hide behind for being lazy. I don't worry. I don't, or maybe not lazy, being unimaginative. I don't think the PC police are coming after Louis C.K. or Bill Maher or any of these other people. They're going after hacks who are doing things that are really, truly offensive and that aren't thoughtful. So, I'm more of a fan of like going after people for bad comedy than for that like your comedy oppresses my people. There's a difference between Hannibal Buress talking about Bill Cosby and a dude bro making a casual rape joke. Those are totally different things and totally different contexts. And one of the things that we were talking about was that it becomes very hard to create a sacred cow in terms of content. Like, you should not make jokes about the Holocaust. You should not make jokes about rape. You should not make jokes about my religion, because everyone has their own little bugaboos that are going to be very offensive to them if you make fun of them. Like, for me, I go and watch the Book of Mormon musical. I think that is incredibly funny. If I go to church on Sunday and I started talking to people about the Book of Mormon musical, people in my ward would go crazy about how offensive that is to them.
Yeah.
And I think my wife would probably feel very offended by a lot of the jokes in the Book of Mormon musical. That's fine. We're all allowed to be offended by things. But sometimes the best comedy is really, truly offensive. And so we wanted to, for our recommendations this week, talk about political correctness and really politically incorrect movies, and that we think you should watch, even though they're going to offend you. So, Adam, what did you decide to go with?
Well, it's kind of interesting. The movie I chose was Team America: World Police, and it's interesting because one of the points I brought up in the conversation we were having earlier this week about having a comedy, sacred cow with comedy, was a quote by either Trey Parker or Matt Stone. I don't remember who it was, and I'm trying to find it desperately right now, and I can't. But the summation of the quote was, people always ask them, hey, is there something you can't make fun of on South Park? Is there something that just goes too far? And he's like, no. He's like, because if you have a sacred cow in comedy, if there's something that's too holy or too special that you can't touch, then we become the racists, the sexists, the homophobes, all the horrible things you're saying about us, because, oh, it's okay to make fun of that because that doesn't count and this does. And to be fair, they've made fun of everything. They've, back before anyone knew really what was going on, they showed Muhammad on an episode. and South Park won't, Comedy Central won't rerun that anymore. Same thing with the Scientology episode. Any religion, homosexuality, feminism, cisgender people, transgender people, everything you can possibly imagine, they've poked fun at, mainly to bring light to bigger issues. And for me, Team America: World Police really it hits that wonderful line of cynical satirism perfectly, because the story, for those who haven't seen it, and I'm sure a lot of you haven't, is it's after 9/11, and America's there's a team of superheroes, special agents, we'll say, from America are going all over the world trying to get rid of terrorists and keep the world safe. So they're policing the world, much like we were doing after 9/11. The problem is they're really, really bad at their jobs. The opening scene, they go to Paris to find the weapon of mass destruction, and they end up killing the terrorists only after destroying all of Paris and knocking over the Eiffel Tower and just killing hundreds and thousands of people. And mind you, this whole thing is done with marionettes. So the whole idea of being controlled by puppet strings literally happens in this movie. So they're running all over the place doing horrible things. And of course, liberal Hollywood, Matt Damon and Susan Sarandon and Sean Penn, they're all over there, saying, oh, no, we need to stop them. This is horrible, blah, blah, blah. They're members of the Film Actors Guild. I'll let you put that one together. And on the opposite side of all this stuff, so the other story is you've got Kim Jong-il is trying to get the weapon of mass destruction to take over the world. The real Kim Jong-il was so pissed about this movie, he actually put a bounty on Trey Parker and Matt Stone's heads. So obviously it affected him somewhat. But the movie is all about these mainly the Film Actors Guild, Hollywood elitists, and the Team America, World Police, which are the redneck right-wing Republicans for the most part, arguing over who's right and who's wrong, and rah 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 this and rabble rabble rabble. And the final answer is you're both wrong. The way we should be doing things, there's a middle ground we all need to find, and there's a way to do things correctly, and you guys are both screwed up in what you're doing. So amid all the fart jokes and blood and gore and really, really bad words and very offensive racial Asian stereotypes and accents,
AIDS jokes?
Huh?
We start off the movie with an entire musical number about AIDS.
Oh yeah,
so
it's at least the musical. Everyone's got AIDS, 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 AIDS. The soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtrack. Freedom isn't free. It costs a hefty fee. It costs $1.05. America, F yeah. It takes the whole political world, and no matter what side you're on, and turns it on its ear and says, you guys are all screwed up. Let's do things a different way. So let's focus on the real bad guys, because in this movie, the real bad guy is Kim Jong-il, and the Hollywood elite's trying to suck up to him, and Team America's trying to blow him up. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out, especially in this day and age with our political divides are so deep. It's nice to have a laugh at everyone's expense to where no one's really being looked down on. It's like we're all in the same area.
This was such a great movie, and it came out at exactly the right time. And the great thing about it was you couldn't pigeonhole it. People wanted to say it was about George Bush and about Republicans and about imperialism. And yeah, there was a big part of the movie that was about that. And then there was a big part of the movie that was about a lot of other things. My favorite thing about this was last year when The Interview came out with James Franco and what's his name? Tubby McGooey Pants.
Oh, Seth Rogen?
Yeah. With
Tubby McGooey. Tubby.
Not that I should be calling anyone that.
Oh, I'm calling him that from now on. That is amazing.
The Interview with James Franco and Seth Rogen, and they shut down all of the screenings because North Korea was mad at it. And here in Austin, the Alamo Drafthouse said, anyone who bought a ticket for The Interview, we're going to give you a free showing of Team America World Police instead. So, that I think that just really knocks the wind out of a lot of people and a lot of things. And I love that it was just such a free-for-all. And on top of all of that, the biggest target of anything was an entire musical number devoted to how terrible Michael Bay was.
Yes.
But yeah, that movie's offensive. I love it. My movie that I picked is equally offensive on a different level, and it is Undercover Brother, which is
God.
I think this is a less well-known movie. I think a lot of people never saw this, but it was this starred Eddie Griffin as the eponymous undercover brother, who is a hero right out of 70s blaxploitation movies. And
it was almost like he was a black Austin Powers.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the original idea behind a lot of this, was if we could make kind of a black Austin Powers. Although there were a series of web shorts that this was based on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this was directed by Malcolm Lee, who is the younger brother of Spike Lee. The apple, unfortunately, did not fall as close to the tree as we would have liked. It's okay, but like you could make a drinking game of how many times like the boom mic ends up like in the shot.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of like bad filmmaking in here, but it's just it's just terrible and awful. Anyway, so Undercover Brother is fighting against the Man. Yes, there is a literal the Man who lives on an island fortress, and he's secretly trying to keep all of the black people down and keep the world safe for white people. He's aided by Mr. Feather, his underling, played by Chris Kattan, in the only role I've ever liked Chris Kattan in. and and an evil henchman, White She-Devil, played by Denise Richards, who is Black Man's kryptonite, sent out to take out Undercover Brother and get him to stray from the path. Undercover Brother starts working with, of course, there is a good side organization, the Brotherhood, led by Chi McBride playing the chief, and employing Dave Chappelle as conspiracy brother, who he gets high all the time and he's all paranoid, and so he comes up with conspiracies about how the black man's trying to be kept down. Sister Girl and Smart Brother, and of course their white intern Lance, played by Neil Patrick Harris,
who's there because of affirmative action.
Yep, exactly. I was like, what can you say? Affirmative action. So, what has happened is Billy D. Williams, playing General Boutwell, has been kidnapped by the Man, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. He was about to announce his run for the presidency. He was obviously supposed to be a Colin Powell type character. And instead, the Man gets him to open up a chain of chicken joints, with the most racially insensitive advertisements ever. It's just really offensive, but and you know, I just watch it. I won't even go into it because, like, I will get my liberal cards taken away for even talking about how politically incorrect these things are. It's just horribly funny, and as part of this, they take Undercover Brother and they try to turn him white so he can go undercover at the corporation that the Man works at. And that becomes very funny, where he's playing Anton Jackson instead of Undercover Brother. And like, there's a great scene of him and Denise Richards singing Ebony and Ivory at a karaoke bar. Awful. This movie is just terrible, top to bottom, and just awfully funny. This is a movie that I could turn on anytime and it'll make me laugh, and I feel a little guilty about that. But knowing that it's people kind of making fun of themselves as much as anything, and it's like we're taking the stereotypes and we're taking them back. Like, it makes it okay. There was a lot of what ended up being in the Chappelle Show in here, even though Dave Chappelle was just an actor here. He didn't have anything to do with the script, but it's that same kind of self-aware humor that it is very racial, and we understand that, and we're intentionally pushing buttons, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have not seen this movie, and I think I saw it in theaters, and that might have been the last time I saw it. But yeah, just you're bringing back some really funny memories. I definitely want to go check it out, and I just double checked, and Netflix doesn't have it, so I'm gonna have to go buy it.
No, it does not, and I don't think it's come out on Blu-ray. I think you can.
I think it's just DVD. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember stupid moment. It's a stupid comedy, but it also has the sensibility, like you said, like the racial sensitivities, and kind of blowing them out of the water and poking a stick at you poke a stick at the the things that kind of need to be said sometimes. Because I guarantee you, there's some white dude in like Southern Alabama who's got an antenna. It's all he has in his trailer park, watching this movie and thinking it's a documentary. Because there's like at the end, doesn't he like kill Chris Kattan with his fro picks or something like that? I remember. Yeah. He throws him and he falls in the water and gets eaten by a shark or something like horrible. Yeah, It's stupid. It's funny. So if you like dumb comedies, you'll have a lot of fun with this. But yeah, you're reminding me of all the great things I loved about it, so I definitely need to go check it out again.
One of the things I loved the best about going to see this movie in the theater was that living in Provo at the time, my wife and I could like walk into any screening anytime ever and never have to worry about whether it was going to be sold out or there being a line. And then like a few weeks later, we found ourselves in LA and we're like, well, let's go see Undercover Brother again. Totally different viewing experience being with like being in a theater with how do I say this without being totally racist?
An ethnically diverse audience.
Yeah. Yeah, but being there with not being there just alone, but being there with other people of color who got the jokes, were enjoying the jokes, and yeah, that was really great.
Yeah, so it reminds me, you talk about seeing a funny movie in a theater with no people in it. Zoolander just turned 14 this year. And I remember that because it was the first movie, it had the worst, it came out after 9/11. And no one was really in the mood to go to a movie theater and laugh, but I was just, we're not going to go into a whole 9/11 spiel, but I was tired of being upset and sad. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to go see something funny. And I think my friend and I, we were the only two people in that theater, laughed uproariously and loved it. And it's great that it's kind of taken on a cult following now. But yeah, just when you said sitting in the theater and no one's there, it reminded me of the first time I saw Zoolander, because the worst release schedule you could ever possibly have for a movie.
Yeah, but luckily we're getting a sequel 15 years later, but we're getting a sequel. I don't know how I feel about that, but that movie was great. Oh, the David Duchovny
hand model
cameo was so great. That was the best.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll see how the new one is, but yeah, so check out Undercover Brother. Go look for Team America World Police. There's an unrated and a rated version of it. The unrated one, there actually is a sex scene with the puppets, and it just makes it more obscene. So
yeah,
go with the unrated one if you get a chance. That's probably the only one actually out there. And before we go, we do have a couple of recommendations. Really quickly, like we said, Mad Max is probably our favorite movie of the year so far. Mm-hmm. If you didn't get a chance to see it, or you wanted to go see it again, for this week only, it's in IMAX again. So it just came out on Blu-ray and DVD. But if you didn't get a chance to see it on a big screen like that, like I didn't, I saw it in a normal-sized theater, so I'm excited to go see it again. But yeah, Mad Max in IMAX for 1 week only. Also, stay tuned to the very, very end for Andy's interview with Leslye Headland. Excuse me. And lastly, we got Salt Lake Comic-Con coming up in less than 2 weeks now. I can't believe it's almost here. Yay! And yours truly actually will be on a couple panels. So if you get a chance to check them out, I'm going to be on the video game addicts of the 80s and 90s, remakes, love them or hate them, the future of video gaming, and finally the LGBTQAI moving forward in pop culture panel. So if you are in Salt Lake or coming to visit, I'd love to see you there. Be sure to say hi. And yeah, that's all we got for this week. Next week, we've got the Scorch Trials, which I mistakenly thought was this Friday. It's next week, the sequel to Maze Runner. Everest, the Jake Gyllenhaal Gets Stuck in a Storm movie, which also you should see in IMAX. And we mentioned before, Black Mass, which is the Whitey Bulger story starring Johnny Depp. So that's it for us. Hail Satan, and have a lovely afternoon.